guys, it's Amy at Zoe Beck, and I'm going to do my Q&A for my anniversary of 8 years here on BookTube. So I got questions on that video that I'm going to put on a document here, so I'm going to just go through them. So a lot of them are bookish. There's a few that are not. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, so this is just mostly as a thank you for those who have been here a while, or if you're new, that's fine too, to get to know me. This is just these are fun questions about reading. And then again, it's a few non-bookish ones, but it got me thinking about certain things. So that's always nice. So anyway, so the first one says, how do you stay motivated, not just with reading, but also with BookTube? I get into slumps so easily and get distracted so often that it really amazes me how you keep going steadily. You love books, obviously, but what is your secret? So there's really no secret. I really enjoy reading. Again, definitely a passion. So I've kind of always had YouTube as a fun outlet. This is not, as I said, this is never a job. I don't make any money whatsoever. I don't get any benefit from that, except that I just love the community, and I love being able to watch other people's videos and getting to know about books. Yes, I buy way too many books because of that, but I think it's easy to be motivated because I am talking about something I really enjoy, and I really enjoy books. So there have been a few points where I was thinking about stopping or taking a break, and I have taken short breaks. Definitely when things have gotten hectic or something, but most of the time I just feel like it's like I'm very much a scheduler. I was by trade for many years, and so my brain just thinks, well, this is when I'm supposed to do this, and so I just I keep that up, and it's easy for me to go, well, I need to have a video out on Sunday, which is normally my main day that I post. I do post sometimes in the middle of the week when I have extra videos, but most of the time I'm like on the weekends with either vlogs or with updates of what I'm reading. That's my consistency. I have that one thing that I know is probably going to come out on Sunday, and then everything else is just kind of extra. So for me, it just feels it's easy, and I'm not putting too much pressure on myself, which I don't think most of us can, because this is not my job. I just do this for fun, and I'm just here to have fun. So I would say it's just, as long as it's fun, that I will keep doing it, and that's where I find my motivation. Another question is, congratulations, I can't believe we've been doing this the same amount of time. This is from Heidi at My Reading Life. We both are 8 years on this, so happy anniversary to her too. Her question is, how long have you been maintaining your bookish spreadsheets? I really admire that kind of record keeping. And I have been doing spreadsheets for my writing and reading probably since 2000, I think it's 4 or 5. I didn't actually pull it out, but I had paper documentation on that. I've been tracking my books read since 1997. I have little books. I didn't bring them in here, but they are, I just write down what book I read and the author, and if I read them by audio or not. And then I have like 3 little notebooks like that's one thing I keep. And then but I have had a spreadsheet on my computers probably since 2003 or 4. No, probably about 4. I think it was 4, because I was really writing a lot in that time period. I was writing all the time, so I wanted to track how much writing I was doing, and if it was writing or editing. And because I don't count numbers of really with editing. I was counting only when I was writing new stuff. So and then I just added my reading on there just because it was fun to see the days that I read a lot or usually days I didn't write. And so I've always been, so I've been tracking that for years. So and the spreadsheets have expanded over the 20 years to now it tracks, if I'm like some activities that I do, or if it's an audiobook that I'm listening to, or what ebooks I've read, what manga I've read, so that even though I have the list of all my reading every day, and I can see how many pages that day I read, I can look over and say, was that a manga, or was that from an audiobook, or was it from an ebook? So, because I don't, physical or just normal. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff. I enjoy that. I haven't figured out a way to show you guys my spreadsheets, so maybe that's something I want to do in the future. But yeah, I would say consistently spreadsheets, I've been keeping track since about 2004. So I have a lot. Question 3, what is your favorite standalone book? I know you like series and didn't know if you had a standalone that you reread regularly. So I did pull a couple books just to kind of do this. I do want to point out, even though this is talking about standalones, but my most reread book in the last, let's see, this came out in 2017, is Silver Silence by Nalini Singh, which is a series book, but is my favorite book in the series and my favorite book by her of all time. So this one I have reread multiple times a year since it came out. So I did want to put that out, that if you want to talk about the most reread book in the last, because again, this book came out in, I think, June of 2017. So that was just after I started my YouTube channel. So if you want to talk about on my channel, what I've reread the most, it would be this book. But you're talking about standalones. So in second place, my most reread book is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I have reread this book over 10 times, and it's still my favorite book of all time. So, I mean, I don't even know how many times I've reread this book physically and on audio. Again, it's hard to beat Pride and Prejudice to me, because it is my favorite book of all time. So, that's number 2. But the book I would say I have reread, and again, it's always been physical, because I don't even know if there's an audiobook for this, but I've always read it physically. And I have read this since my teens, and I have read it consistently every other year. Some years I read it every year, so that's a lot of years. But as The India Fan by Victoria Holt. So I do not know why this one just has always drawn me in. I have loved this since I was a teenager. And it's a historical fiction romance, and has to do with a young woman who's kind of tied to the ones who are more the lords of the area, and her life, because her age, she's really close in age with the younger daughter, and so her life gets kind of thrown up into them. And then there's a lot of stuff when they go to India and stuff. I adore this book. There's so many things about this, and this is my favorite standalone book that one of my favorites of all time that I've reread the most. Pride and Prejudice is probably pretty close right now, because I've not read this as much in the last couple of years. But coming up with this question, I think I'm going to try to reread this fairly soon. So I just wanted to put that out. And again, I don't know, I love that book. Anyway, another Berna put down, congrats, my friend. My question is about your bookish lists. I know you love stats and spreadsheets, but do you also have many bookish lists like myself? So this one made me stop and think and go, no, I don't. I think it's really interesting, because I have seen her do her videos. Again, I will have, how do I say this? I look at books, like, as I said, I have a list of things I want. I don't even use Goodreads want to read lists very often, because I just put books because I'm hoping for free copies and I never get any. But, I have so many books that my list is pretty much what books I have on hand and what I want to get to. I don't go off of very many lists of what other people think you should read. I am very much like, I look at lists, like I'm not a prize reader. I'm not, like, that doesn't make it to me. I still want to have to read the book. So I have lists, like the only book lists I would say I have is to read certain authors to zero. I think there are definitely authors who, that is my goal. Like, again, there's not that many. There's a lot of classics that I want to read a lot of their books, maybe not everything if they're very prolific, but like, I do want to get through certain things like that. But I wouldn't say I have like lists. Like, that's interesting. Like, I just don't think that way, even though I'm a list maker and I definitely use, I have all this kind of stuff. It's just, that's not the way I look at reading. And I think that has to do a lot with the fact that I'm a mood reader. But it is an interesting question, and made me think about it. And sorry, no, I don't have any book lists that I go off of. I think I come up with enough books to read on my own and what I see here on BookTube. I just think that's it. So then, Someone asked a lot of questions on a row, which was really nice. So one is, what is your default genre to read? Either your comfort one or the one that you go back to when you can't decide what to read next. My default genre, I would say, was always urban fantasy or paranormal romance. They're the easiest to pick up for me. I have many series I'm in the middle of, and also they're my favorite to reread. I reread more of that type of book than I do anything else, because again, they're series, almost all of them are series that I love. So, and again, I reread like Nillingi Singh like all the time. So she's in that category. So I would say if I'm looking for, if I'm not sure what I want to read, I will, if I'm feeling like I need to pick up something or else I'm going to go into a slump, I will pick up a reread. That'll be my first thing. And again, it'll almost always be an urban fantasy paranormal romance. But if I'm also just like not sure what I want to read, I will pick up a paranormal romance, urban fantasy, just to read next, because I have so many series on the go. So that's the answer to that one. What made you start a YouTube channel? So I don't even remember. Let's be honest. I mean, I had started watching YouTube a little bit more frequently in 2016, and I was kind of more into the journals and writing sphere. I was watching a lot of that stuff, and then somehow I kind of transitioned into the books in that December, and then it still took me like 4 or 5 months to decide to do it, but I just thought I had moved back to Oregon from living in California for many years, and I had only a small group of friends here that were local, so I was like looking for something that would be another hobby. And I just found it so fascinating that anybody was getting online and talking about books. And I just love books, and I always have, clearly. And so I just decided to take the plunge and just try. And I thought, well, if nobody watches me, that's fine. I'll just do a few videos and then I will, go off into the sunset. But as I said, I don't have a lot of subscribers like a lot of people, because again, this isn't my job, and this is for fun. And so I don't have a problem with that. And I love that anybody's here watching at all or will communicate with me or whatever. But I found it just fun to be able to talk about books I was reading and books I was getting and stuff. And I think I just wanted something to do that was different, and I've really enjoyed it over these years. So I think that's what happened, but you know what? It's been a while, so I'm going to guess that. Next question is, have you always been a prolific reader? Yeah, pretty much. So I would say the years because again, I have tracking from 97, which is when I was out in the world and working. So I don't have any of my records from when I was a kid or high school or even college. This is beyond that, a little bit beyond that. And oh no, I think it started in 98. I think I lied. I think it was 98. Tracking it. And there's some years I read like not as many books, but they are really big books. Like I read really big fantasy books. And then there's other years where I read a lot of small stuff or a lot of stuff. And then there are years where I wrote more than I read. So my number was low, but I was writing many, many pages during that year. So it kind of fluctuates, but I would still say I've always been above average in how many books I read compared to what, the national average is. I've always read quite a few. As I said, I think I was never below 20 books a year. I was always above and beyond that. Again, right now I'm pretty extreme on how many books I'm reading, but I would say I was always looking to read. I always had something close by. I never went anywhere without a book. It was one of those things, even if I didn't have time to read it, but I always had it with me. So I would say I was a prolific reader. Probably since my teens. So, what are your 2 top authors you read in fantasy, urban fantasy, paranormal romance, and just regular romance? So, top 2. Well, again, if we're gonna cover romance, paranormal romance, urban fantasy with fantasy elements, Nillingi Singh is number 1. Like there is no there's no comparison, as she is my favorite author probably of all time. I mean, again, I like Pride and Prejudice and Jane Austen is high. Like that is my favorite book of all time. But if I want to go with an author who has consistently and has a huge catalog for me to read and reread, it would be Nalini Singh. Her Guild Hunter series, her Sai Changing series. I even like her Rock Hard series. Or is that what it's called? I don't know. It has... No, Rock Hard is the second book in that series. It's the Rock Addiction, Rock Hard. Anyway, there's that, and then there's a spin-off series that I have to finish, which is another romance one, which again, I got away from contemporary romances and only recently have come back to it, but there's a couple more of that I need to read. But I would say she is like the top one. Like, if I had to pick one, that would be her. And then, wow. So fantasy, I would say, just fantasy, Tad Williams would be, I love Tad Williams. And again, I like all his epic fantasy mostly. I still have one more series I need to read of his. I have not gone to Shadow March, but I've read everything else. So I would say him with fantasy. Other urban fantasy, love Anne Bishop, the other series. I think that one pretty much has crested for me. Like, that is my favorite. But Alona Andrews is going to be right there with the paranormal romance, urban fantasy kind of crosses. Mostly, I still think of Alona Andrews as urban fantasy. So they're like in there. I love them both. Paranormal romances, I would say, G.A. Aiken and Shelley Lawrenston. They're both fantasy romance and paranormal romances. Shelley Lawrenston / G.A. Aiken. They're the same person, but they wrote those. That would be that. And then contemporary romance, right now, I think my favorite, because again, I'm just getting back into this last year I've read the most contemporary I have in 20 years. And so I would say Sarah Adams is definitely my favorite go-to on that. And then Elsie Silver is maybe going to creep up in there, but I like Lila Sage as well. And there are so many others that, I mean, I feel like there's going to be others that'll come in, but those are kind of some of my authors of those genres. I hope that made sense. We'll see. If you could read in only one format, what would it be? Physical. Physical is still my favorite. I do a lot of audiobooks right now because work has allowed me to, be able to listen to stuff while I do stuff. And so I am consuming more audiobooks than I have before. But really, if I have a chance to read something, I will read it physically. And if I have time, I'll read it physically. That is still my favorite, and that's still the one why I buy so many books is because I want them physically. As I said, I do read a lot of stuff by audio just because I have time, and I have a lot of stuff from Libby to read books off my shelf. But I would say still, physically is the one format I would that if I only got to pick one. And then the non-bookish question on this one was, what do you do for your job? She wrote down, I'm fascinated by your stories of having to drive big vehicles. This Honeybee NZ40 has done all these questions. So I work at a quarry and I work in the maintenance shop. So for years I was the scheduler there. And then we got bought out. And so my position went away. And so I work in the parts department now. So I run the parts, room, and I am a purchaser. So I keep my stuff in stock, and then I also help get purchase orders and ordering for other departments on different things. So I do a lot of stuff mostly on my computer or in my parts room. So I don't go very far in the maintenance shop, but that is what I do. And then again, the reason I drive, like in the past, I had to drive some really big trucks as well as the F-250 to and from the other location, because I was one of those ones who was able to drive vehicles to, if I had to take them in for service, or now again I'm driving the truck because I'm covering for another location while my coworker is out on maternity leave. So I have to drive whatever truck they give me because they don't want us driving our personal rigs during office hours. So I've been driving a Ford F-250, which I had to leap to get into every day to do that. And then now again, I'm down into an F-150, which is great. It's so much easier to drive as well and stay on, the roads. When I'm driving back roads to get there from one location to the other. And it's just, Those big trucks are just not fun. But I had to drive a couple F-350s through Beaverton to a tire shop many times over the years, and that was never my favorite. So so I work in a maintenance shop and I work in the parts department and I'm a purchaser. So I hope that answers your question. Anyway, so another question is, has there ever been a book you picked up and wanted to finish but just couldn't? Oh, wow. Well, I would say there's a lot of books like that. I would say a lot of those are classics. I have picked up Little Women, I don't know how many times, and never been able to read it. There's just something about that just, by Louisa May Alcott. I just can't do that book. Like, I don't know, there's something about that book. I feel like there's another classic I probably should bring up that I've done that too. Oh, I'm not going to see it, am I? Oh, well, Les Mis is another one. I'm still hoping I'll get back to that one. And it's just daunting how big it is. But again, it's not always on size. It's just sometimes there are books that you pick up and you just can't read. I'm not a high DNFer. I DNF a lot. I do a lot of try stuff and I just go, I can't do it. So there's many books that I have picked up that I wanted to finish just to finish it. And I've gotten 70-80% into some books and then just I'm done. And I have a couple of those in the last year or two. Most of the time I DNF pretty early, pretty much 10, 15, 20% in, and I'll be like, no, I can't do this. But I would say there are definitely books that I've tried to pick up and I just couldn't do it. But I would say classics are more the ones that I keep thinking I'm going to someday read those, like Little Women or Les Mis. I know I would like to think that one time I'll finally make it through. We'll see. And again, this year I would say the one that I did that to, which I still want to read, is like Callocane by Karen Boy. So I got, 50 pages in and it's only 168 pages. And I do want to finish this because I want to know where it goes, but I just cannot make myself pick this book up. So it is over here on my card of shame. Anyway, let's see here. What is another one here? It says hope. And that was by Ninja Steve. Anyway, so then I have a couple from Tia as Genres and Journals. She says, as a fellow reader that has a large TBR, I'm always interested in other people's TBRs. So my question is, how many unread physical books do you own? How many books do you own that you've read? And would you ever do one of those Reader on Haul video series or Shelf Ultimatum series that everybody's doing? So, okay, let me break this down. I did write down. So I have been spending the last few months, or the first few months of the year, I worked on a spreadsheet on weekends to get every book in my collection onto a spreadsheet. I know there probably were easier ways to do it, but I did it book by book and I put in certain information and then I marked them if they were read or unread, So, I have at this moment, I have 3,465 books in my house. And I have read 1,688. So I have read 48.8% of my books. I'm just under 50%. So with that said, is that in a few weeks, you guys, maybe sometime mid-month in June, I'm planning to have my own version of the Reader on Haul. And we'll see how it goes, because my goal is not to get to TBR 0 because that will never happen. But I do want to at least have read 50% of my books. And I'm really close. I'm only about 32 books off. So that'll be something you guys will see probably mid-June. But just so you know, the numbers are a little terrifying when I think about how many books are in my house, except I was like, wait, but that can't be right. I must not have that many books. Yeah, I do. But I've read a lot of them. Right? Anyway, this is that question. And then non-bookish questions is, do I like amusement parks, the beach, movies, TV shows, traveling? I would love to hear about any other hobbies you have. So, I used to like amusement parks when I was younger and smaller, but haven't really been to any of those since I graduated from college. I went to Disney World, and that was the last one I've been to. But I do love the beach. I'm very much for beach houses and, just quiet days reading my book while listening to the ocean. So I do love that. I don't do that as often as I would like. Movies, I am very much, I don't watch anything really new. I'm very much rewatching stuff that I already love. I'm just not into, I buy a couple of new movies. Like, I still have to watch Dune Part 2, but I haven't done that yet because I need to gear myself up and watch the first one, even though I love Dune and I love that movie, but I just have to be in the right mood. So I don't watch a lot of movies right now, except for every year, at least 2 or 3 times, I will binge The Lord of the Rings, all 3 movies, extended versions, and I will watch Pride and Prejudice, both the 1995 BBC version as well as the 2005 Keira Knightley version. So those ones I always watch. Everything else is like, I just don't. I watch way too much BookTube. Shorter content is just, even with people's vlogs that are long, I just watch those more. I guess because I can be a little distracted and read while I'm watching those. And movies, I feel like I have to pay attention. And I don't watch any TV shows. I haven't in years. I gave up cable quite a while ago. So I'm just not into TV shows, I guess, right now. And then traveling, I miss traveling. I used to travel a lot, and then circumstances changed and, stuff. So this trip to, with my family to Alaska will be the first big trip I've done in probably over a decade. I've done small trips to my family for family events, back in the Midwest, but I haven't really done, any real traveling in years. So it'll be really exciting to do that. I'm hoping to put more of that into my future. So we're going to work on that. And then any other hobbies? Well, the biggest thing that I would say is a hobby that I want to take more time at and get back into is my writing. I write only a few times every year right now. And I used to write prolifically, and I used to write every day. And I'm just need to get somehow back into that. So that is kind of my goal, is to make, because if I start writing more, then my reading will decrease, because that's just how that works for me. It's one or the other. But I would really like to have a balance of, writing and reading. And so we'll see if I ever get to that. I keep hoping, but we'll see. So that is all the questions. That I really appreciate all you guys who put in questions and sent them in. I do love the community here, and I love watching everybody else's videos. I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and we'll continue to watch some of my videos. We'll see how it goes. So I'm looking forward to trying a new one, like with the read and run haul thing, which I'm hoping to do, and we will see how that goes. And anyway, that's it. Thanks again so much for all of you who have been subscribed or just watching this. I really appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.